my neighbors are so loud.
Like a dinosaur was chasing.
I know, right? Hi guys, it's Amanda here, your kitty of Carnage.
And I'm Jess KORESH.
Here on Channel Sundown. We just got back from seeing Dr. Sleep. Yes, that's so exciting.
You sound like it's a Marvel movie, like Dr. Sleep is a Marvel superhero.
Well,
Dr. Sleep! Watch out! Move over, Dr. Strange. There's a new doctor in town.
No, okay. As you guys can see, I'm bundled up because it is cold today, and I had my film room door closed, and it did not get heat in this room. He's fine, but I'm very cold, so yeah. And I'm going to say that we're doing this review, but we have kids right outside my house screaming bloody murder. So, no kids were harmed in this review if you guys happen to hear a scream. It's not us.
We're paying those kids to scream outside, so it sounds creepy.
Oh, then there's that.
I mean, you're paying those kids to scream outside. Did I forget to tell you that?
Oh, good to know. Dr. Sleep was directed by Mike Flanagan, who is known for Hush, Before I Wake, and another Stephen King film adaptation, Gerald's Game, and stars playing Danny Torrance. Well, he's Dan in this one. He's Dan in this one. Ewan McGregor, and young Kaylee Kern, who plays Abra Stone. And, of course, our villain, Rose the Hat, who's played by Rebecca Ferguson. As everybody knows, Dr. Sleep is a sequel to Stephen King's previous story, The Shining.
So in this sequel, we pick up with an adult Dan Torrance as he picks up a protege in the young Abra Stone. Together, the two must team up to defeat Rose the Hat and her band of shining, sucking vampires.
Yes. I says in the title, this is a non-spoiler review, so that's pretty much what we can really get into about the film without really giving anything away. Because honestly, he's read Dr. Sleep. By the way, there's a link to the book review down below. He's read it, and even he was like, A lot of people who are fans of the book are really going to enjoy it, but also going to be like, what's going to happen next?
I would compare it to like the same way that fans of the Walking Dead comic were able to enjoy the Walking Dead TV show, because in some points it goes right along with it, and then in some points it diverges, so you're still interested, and there's like, oh, there's different stuff going on that I wasn't previously aware of. So it's interesting in that aspect.
First point of the review, we're going to discuss the acting.
As far as the acting goes in this movie, I really enjoyed it. I love Ewan McGregor, first of all, so I knew he was going to do a good job as Dan. There were a lot of people in the movie that I weren't aware of. Some people I was aware of, and I was like, oh, I know them from TV and things like that. I'm not familiar with the young actress that played Abra, and I was not familiar with the actress that played Rose the Hat, but I love her. And everyone did a great job. At first, the child actor, I was kind of like, oh, she's not that great. But then it got into some like heavier material down the line, and I was like, oh, this girl's a really good actress. You know, at first I thought, not that I thought she was bad. See my previous thoughts and other reviews about child actors. But I didn't think she was bad. I just thought she was kind of an average child actor. But then she got into some of the heavier stuff, meatier stuff as the movie progressed. And I was like, oh, wow, this girl's actually a really good actress. And so, yeah, it was well acted as far as I'm concerned.
I agree. I honestly knew that I'm not going to sit there like you said. I knew Ewan McGregor was going to be awesome. I'm a huge Ewan McGregor fan. I am really, it's hard to really get into it without spoiling it, but there's a few stars that are in this film that I was kind of like, hey, who's that? Like, I don't know his name, the little boy from Before I Wake is in it. And a few other actors that we're not going to say because it'd probably be spoiling.
There's kind of surprise cameos.
Yes,
kind of is what we'll say.
and we'll get into that in our pros and our cons. But it was really well acted. I thought it was really believable what it needed to be. And the villain, Rebecca Ferguson, she was good because I felt like she was wicked, but wasn't that like Disney witch over the top.
Yeah.
She was very enticing.
She was almost likable. She was almost like, and that's hard to do, to play like a kind of almost a likable villain.
But that's the thing about it, is because, going with the story, they have to kind of, lure children in and stuff. So you couldn't have somebody who's like, hee with the witch hat on.
I'll get you, my pretty.
Yeah. She was very approachable. And she's very, in a weird, loving kind of way. Like, and there are scenes, like, things would happen, and you're just like, oh, she's feeling for this person? What? And it was just kind of like, as scenes I'm talking about, you're kind of like, huh? But she's so wicked. It was kind of like she was wicked, but she had selfish intentions. That's why she was wicked. So she wasn't, like, bad to be bad. She wanted something, so she was wicked because she was selfish. She wanted what she wanted. She wanted to be, that. I'm not going to get into it because, like you said, non-spoiler review. But yeah, I thought the acting was really good. And Ewan McGregor was awesome. And I think it's so funny, speaking of the acting, I think it's so funny how, like, English actors can do great American accents, like perfect American accents. And you get American actors, and there's very few who can do an English accent.
Yeah, it's usually over the top. I think that's the key.
Yeah, exactly.
Not to be over the top with your accent. But I mean, I don't know. I've never tried to lose, I've never tried to go from doing a British accent to an American accent, so I don't know what the difficulty level is there.
Yeah, well, I gained a Southern accent, so, and I guys, I lived overseas my whole life. I lived in Germany for 11 years, and I lived in Korea for 6. And all of a sudden, people meet me, I'm like, hi, y'all. They're like, oh, you from here? I'm like, no, I'm from Korea. And they're like, huh? So,
I lost my Southern accent, and then I got it back tenfold, so that's how it works.
Yeah. Well, to be funny, whenever, like, when I was in the hospital, I was doing, like, my treatments and stuff like that, my speech therapist had a really thick Southern accent. So I think that didn't help either, because people are now like, maybe your accent's worse. And my therapist is like, you speak real good, Amanda. I'm like, thank you.
I hope your speech therapist wasn't saying, you speak real good. I'd get my money back if I were you.
Oh, man. The things. Okay, now that we talked about the acting, we talked about the plot, a very loose definition, I guess, summary of the plot. We're going to jump. I can't see, like, jump right into our pros and our cons. Which one you want to do first?
Let's do pros.
Pros. You want to go first?
No, go ahead. Ladies first.
Before I get into my pros, I went ahead and took my coat off because it's starting to get warm in here. And I'm wearing my Shining shirt. Haha. So, yeah.
Now that's fire.
Let me refer to my notes. You guys know I have to get these, and I have to hold them this close to my face. Get to my notes. My first pro is going to be, well, I guess, these are so hard to do without telling it and giving anything away. There were certain parts that were flashbacks that I thought were really tastefully done. They were reshot, and I thought that was really smart for them to do that, because I don't know how it would have felt if they would have showed just, like, cuts of just the film inside this film. Like, if they would have just showed, like, an image of, like, him riding down the hallway and the twins being there and stuff. I don't know how I would have felt with that. So, they were tastefully done. And that's what I liked about it. So, the pro for number 1 is going to be the flashbacks were tastefully done. My pro number 2 is actually going to be something I don't know is going to be on yours or not, but we'll see in a minute. I liked how they connected, and I'm just going to, this isn't really a spoiler, I'm not getting into detail, but they connected a lot more to the first film versus making something totally into the book. I thought that was really, really good. I like that, because what makes, the film something iconic is, the scenes of, there's certain scenes in Dr. Sleep that go in the first film that I don't think were in the book, and they kind of go in. to each other. So I thought it was really good how it connected with each other. So I liked that. Like it was basically like it was a sequel in itself. So that's what I liked about it, because I was kind of nervous about going in there and it just be like the book and no connections to the first film. So I was really nervous about that, and it didn't. It connected good, and I liked it. Good flashbacks, and it connected into the first film versus just making itself by itself. If that makes sense. And my third positive is actually it's kind of weird to kind of say it, but I liked how the fear was kind of twisted a little bit. It was different than the original, and how like the original is very supernatural, very spirit wise. This film was focused more on just how to say, like, need and want and the mind, and how people, because people that have the shine deal with it differently, and they talk about that in the film. They contribute differently, and they kind of deal and everything differently, and it kind of just jumps into where, you know, the fear is not of the ability but of the intention. Like I said, you know, the villain, you know, she wanted something, and she had abilities, and she did not have the best intentions at all. Her intention was getting what she wanted. So that was my third positive. I liked how they took the fear and they kind of changed it, and that's what
That's
I
a very
liked.
deep pro you've got there. Wow. I can't, my mind's blown. I'm trying to,
Stop being sarcastic and
I'm not being sarcastic. I'm like, wow, what happened to you?
It's I warmed up, so my thoughts kind of
You were practicing in the bathroom mirror before we started, aren't you?
with my coat. All right, Jesse. Now your pros.
My pros were, it was nice to have a sequel to The Shining and not a remake or a rehash or a retelling of it. It's a pretty true sequel in that aspect. My other one is that of course it's visually stunning. I wouldn't say that it's on the same level as maybe Stanley Kubrick, because you know it's a whole different time and now it's a lot easier to do a lot of things. But of course it was visually stunning. And then I'm also going to agree with you on the fact that the scenes that you're talking about, like they were tastefully done, also, and they didn't take the easy way out by just showing like old clips from The Shining, which I don't know if they could do anyway. But like, you know, instead of it was a good homage to it, the way that they filmed it. It was very, like you said, it was very tastefully done and it looked really great. So those would be my pros to the movie.
I looked past because I wasn't looking right, but my first line in my pros, I wrote beautiful. Yeah, it was a very beautiful film, and the intro was very like when they played the music, I was like, oh wow, this is The Shining. So yes, I agree with you. I liked all that. So yeah, what you said was right on, dude.
Dynamite.
Dynamite. Well, now that we were being so positive, now we're gonna jump into our cons of the film. So I'm gonna talk about my negatives, unless you want to go negatives first.
Let me go and say mine first because I don't have a lot to say, but it's just one, and we'll see if you agree or disagree with me.
All right.
Well, yeah. So my only con for the movie is, as much as I appreciated the movie for being different from the book, and you know, if you go back in these other videos we talked about, I told you that I was like, I really feel like this movie is going to be more of a sequel to the movie than it is the book, and that's exactly what it turned out to be. It turned out to be more of a sequel to the movie than the actual book. And as much as I appreciate it for kind of diverging from the book and not being just a complete, you know, like exact retelling of the book, without getting into any specifics or like saying, there's a large chunk of the movie that almost seems like it was just done to appease Shining fans. Because without saying too much, again, it's a lot different from the book, and I feel like a good chunk of it was kind of just done to, like, oh, you like The Shining? Well, it almost to a point where it seemed like a different movie, kind of. And you know, I think you know what I'm talking about. Almost to a point where like it changed tone and everything, where it was just like, oh, well, here we were doing this different movie, but now, oh, you like The Shining? Well, hey, look at this for a little while, you know. And that kind of threw me off. And I mean, I enjoyed it, but at the same time, I kind of didn't enjoy it, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, as a Shining fan, got excited like everybody else, but then after it kind of sunk in, I was like, as somebody who read the book, I was like, wait a minute, this isn't in the book, and this is just kind of a wank fest for Shining fans, if you will.
Well, yeah, because we're watching the movie, and I was like sitting there, and I was like, and you're like, like I'm not gonna say when, but we were sitting there watching. And he goes, none of this is in the book. Because I was like sitting there, kept looking, and I was like, so, and he's like,
Yeah,
I was
because
like, okay.
because that was one of the benefits of it, because you hadn't read the book and I read
Yeah.
the book, but we were still both surprised by the movie because
Yeah.
I was like, oh, you were like, oh wow, and I was like, oh wow,
Yeah.
you know, so
Yeah.
it had the same effect for both of us, even though I read the book and you hadn't.
Yes. My cons really are cons, but I had to have some cons in the film, but my cons aren't really anything I was really like, oh, that's not good. It was kind of just like, it was more like, huh. But it wasn't like, oh no! So, like, when I say cons, I say that very, like, it's more like a, more than a, so.
Wow, there we go.
Yeah, there we go.
So much for being deep. I was like, wow, you're really being deep. And it's like, it's more about, turn into a caveman.
Mind your business. One of my cons are going to be, and this is something that people who have seen it, I'm going to say very loosely, so anybody who hasn't seen it, they don't know what I'm saying. But there's a few recastings of characters. I was kind of like, and it's not for who you think it is. Towards, how do I say this? I'm trying to think. I think I wrote it down. Towards the end of the film, they had a character who is kind of grasp, and they, I'll talk about it at the end of this, at the end, after credits, I'll put a little spoilers on and say this. So, yeah, that's going to be one of my cons, but y'all stay tuned to the end, and I'll do my spoiler con. But another con of mine is that I was actually, at the very end, they go back to the scene of the original, and when they showed what the Overlook looks like today and the hauntings of it, it did not look or feel like the Overlook Hotel at all to me. It didn't.
See, I thought otherwise.
I didn't feel like it had. I felt like it had the because remember when they first go to the Overlook, it has like kind of, you know, it felt very, I don't know, it felt like a play of the Overlook. Like a haunted house of the Overlook. Like it was set up to look like the Overlook versus just a decrepit Overlook hotel.
Well, you got to understand, but see, they arrived it was dark. There was no lighting in the place, and it had been abandoned for 30 years or whatever. So I mean,
it just seemed tighter to me.
I think they were just trying to give that it is a different place now. It's not not the same Overlook that you remember.
True. Okay, well then I could be wrong for that, but to me it felt tighter. It didn't feel as open and as haunting as it did previously. So yeah. And my final con is going to be, I felt like this was a pro I had, but also as a little bit of a con. I didn't feel it was as frightening as The Shining. But then, I can't, it's a hit or miss with me. I just felt like it wasn't as, I didn't feel as, but then again, that's what the Overlook and everything does. It makes you feel kind of trapped. So, this is, like I said, I had to find some cons. So I had to sit there, and this is, the film is great for the tenseness of it. The tension, but I just didn't feel like it was as haunting and scary as. But then again, that's honestly, my cons are kind of like a BS, kind of like just like you have to come up with something bad, so come up with something. Because honestly, you can't. If they would have copied and made it exactly like the first one, then I would have been disappointed in that. So it's its own story. It's its own story. So.
I don't really think that that's as BS as you think it is because, for instance, when they're doing the scenes with Rose the Hat and all that, that's new and exciting, and you don't know what to expect because you don't know what these people are going to do. You know, you don't know what they're going to do to these victims and stuff like that. But then when you have the Overlooking play and they're like talking about, oh, these old ghosts from the well, you kind of know, the lady, you already know the lady from 237. You already know certain characters. I don't want to give too much away, but you already know some of these characters, so you kind of know what to expect from them. You know what I'm saying? So in that case, it's like, oh, well, it was scary the first time I saw it, but it's not that scary now because I already know what these people do, what they're capable of.
But then again, you're right because I saw The Shining when I was how old, and I'm 32 now watching Doctor Sleep. So you know what? Because if I would have seen Doctor Sleep the age I saw The Shining, then I probably would have been scared of this film. Because honestly, they do, guys. And this is I'm gonna jump into one pro. They weren't easy on stuff. They were very, like, they went there. They were very, they did not, they showed, when they murdered a kid, they murdered a kid. It was,
They really murdered the kid?
Well, no, when they went after kids, they went after kids. I'm not saying that's like a positive, like, yay, to dead kids, but...
No, you said that was your pro. You said that's a pro.
No, I'm not saying that's a pro, yay, positive to dead kids. I'm saying that they took this story and that gave you, because... You know, honestly, I'm going to call bullshit on my con because now I'm thinking about it. That actually being that they went there for the kids because, you know, if they hadn't went for the kids that hard, I wouldn't have been so, like, on edge for the characters.
Yeah, well, see, that's what I was saying with Rose the Hat and that. Those scenes were more terrifying because you didn't know what to expect. You didn't know what these people were capable of. You didn't know how far they were going to go.
Because you saw how far they went before and then, Okay, so I'm thinking it's I think I'm just being spoiled from Shining, so I'm like, oh, no, a ghost didn't jump out of a tree, but...
See, that's the problem. It's hard, it's impossible not to compare the two. You know, that's the problem, so...
Here it comes. Our verdict. And I guess I'm going to go first, because he wants to know what I think.
I'm dying.
Because we literally, when we go see a movie, guys, say this a million times, when we go see a movie, we don't talk about the film. We don't.
She won't let me.
Yeah, I said I was like, we'll talk about it when we're filming. Okay? Wait till then. So, my verdict. My verdict is I'm building tension. I love Dr. Sleep. I loved Dr. Sleep. I thought it was fan-freaking-tastic. I loved it. It was so good. And I knew I was going to say that because the whole movie I was just like, there was a person in front of us talking. The scene when they saw the cat, like, okay, this is the other thing. Okay, there's a cat in the film and like the cat, these people walked in during the middle of the film and sat down and stuff. But they showed the cat 3 times and the 4th time they showed the cat, the person went, "Aw, kitty." I was like, the cat's been in the movie. Anyways, but yeah, people were talking and stuff, and I was just like, I didn't care. I was just like, oh my gosh, I'm into this movie. So yeah, I loved Dr. Sleep. I thought it was good. And so the last review, when I was talking about that other film, and I was all like, Dr. Sleep, we're going to see what you can do. I am very pleased, Dr. Sleep. So yeah, I was happy. It was good. It was grasping. It made you just kind of like, you didn't know what was going on, but even the flashbacks, and it's its own film. That's what I love about it. It didn't feel like a continuation. I mean, there's parts where I was like, you guys like The Shining? You guys like The Shining? Like, I remember those parts, and I was kind of like, oh, okay, we get it. That being said, you know, I like the differentiation of this film and everything. So I love Dr. Sleep. It was 2 thumbs up for me. I loved it. Anyways, Jesse, your opinion.
So, my opinion is, I liked Dr. Sleep. I didn't love it, but I liked it. This is and I know you're probably really surprised by this, but because you know my favorite movie is The Shining. Yeah. But my reason for this is, in this instance, I kind of wish I hadn't read the book first, because the movie is very different from the book, like very different from the book, and which is surprising to me because it's faint. You know, everyone knows that Stephen King didn't like The Shining because it was so different from the book. So it's really surprising to me that they took such a different turn in the movie than they did the book. But I I liked it. I will definitely watch it again. What I want to do when it comes out, I want to watch, like have a marathon and watch The Shining and then watch Doctor Sleep. And I think that after I get a little more distance from the book, that I'll have more of an appreciation for the movie. Don't get me wrong, I didn't dislike it. And you should, either way, if you've read the book, go see it. If you haven't read the book, go see it. If you've seen the movie, you know, go see it. Just go see this movie. It's a good movie. I liked it, but I had really high standards for this one because I've been looking forward to it for a long time, and it kind of let me down just a little bit, just because of the way I said it almost feels like two different movies put into one. Like, but I liked it, and I will definitely watch it again. And I think after I give myself a little more time from when I read the book to when I watched the movie, that I'll appreciate it more.
See, guys, if you guys look in the link below, we have a video that Jesse did, Shining, book versus film, and he discussed it, and I'm basically his guest on that, but I never read The Shining, so I'm kind of just there talking about.
So now I've got to do a Doctor Sleep.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I was going to ask you.
Yeah, now I'm going to have to do a Doctor Sleep book versus movie.
Exactly. And this time you read the book before you seen the movie versus watch the movie and then see. So yeah, so wow, so we actually disagreed on this one. I loved it, and you liked it.
I didn't hate it. I liked it.
Well, you know, we always do that. Like, if you love something, I like it. Like when I love something, you like it. Like, it's like.
We're like Siskel and Ebert.
I know.
They never agreed on anything.
Right? Well, there hasn't been a movie that I loved and you hated. There hasn't been that.
No, I don't know.
So stay tuned for that, because the end of the year countdown is going to be very interesting. Very interesting.
I'm ready for it. Well, I'm not ready for it. There's still a lot of movies that are coming out.
So before we saw Dr. Sleep, we have a few videos that we've made for Stephen King for The Shining and the Dr. Sleep book review. If you guys look below, we have the links down below in the description. And this probably won't be posted until Monday, unfortunately, due to a lot of stuff going on. You know, I have kids, a kid, and then another kid. No, he's not. He's not my kid. He's not.
I'm going home. What are you talking
about?
about?
Anyways, guys. So yeah, what did you guys think? Did you guys like Dr. Sleep? Do you think Jesse's wrong? Do you think I'm wrong? Let us know. Comment below. And guys, we seek approval, so do not forget to like and subscribe. Like.
You love doing that,
And
don't
subscribe. I do. Anyways, guys, until next time, bye.
Bye.
My Dr. Sleep shirt. No, it's my Shining shirt. No, Dr. Sleep for at least some more Dr. Sleep. And that's my scarf.
Still a cool shirt, either way.
I know, right? Alright, here it goes. I'm going to spoil, so spoiler signs coming up. Alright, one of my cons are going to be the recasting of Jack Torrance. And the reason why is because I felt like Jack Torrance and Dick, a lot of the characters that came back that were recast, I was not wanting them really to, but I mean, you do Star Wars and they computerized, you know, Princess Leia and everything, and I just, what's his name? The little boy from E.T. played Jack Torrance.
Henry Thomas.
Henry Thomas, yes. He played Jack Torrance at the Overlook Hotel, and I thought they would at least put like a little bit of thing to make him kind of, or at least did the voice, or at least have the voice of him, like computerize his voice, because he didn't sound as menacing as Jack Torrance did. So the whole scene between him and Dan, we're so used to call him, let's just call him Danny. He goes by Dan in the film now. Danny, you know, would have been so much would have been more deep if he would have been like, because that scene he's sitting there and goes, why don't you take your medicine? If it would have been his voice, it would have been there. So yeah, it's a spoiler, guys. That's why I put it at the end of the credits. But yeah, so yeah, that was my
Well, it's funny that you say that because, and also I think that you wouldn't feel feel that way if the actress that had been playing the mom didn't do such a good job of sounding like the mother.
Yes.
She sounded like almost just like her. But I got to give him credit for trying, and I'm glad they did that instead of doing like a computerized, like a like a whatever.
Well, because he acted like he acted like him. He just didn't sound like him.
But he was trying. He gets an A for effort. But yeah, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, kind of my con. So yeah, there you go, guys.